it was very logical to do the start of the route I originally bolted on the left, and then traverse, like do this crux traverse after the bottom, and then finish on New World. So that's what became New World.
Okay.
And so the original route is longer by probably 40 or 50 feet. It's 40 or 50 feet longer, and it only shares the first 6 bolts, which is really hard climbing. I mean, that's the bulk of the difficulty on New World. But the difference is, like, for New World, once you do this kind of hard traverse over to the right, you get a really good rest, like really good, like not an everything rest, but like, you know, really, really great. You've got this like big Waco that's flat on the inside, and you can kind of like stand there and shake and everything. So, and then you get intermittent rests as you go up the route, and there is more hard climbing, and it's quite risky. So it's by no means over. Like that route, New World, is still really hard until you literally clip the chain. But the difference is that the direct version, it's longer, and there's no, especially in that lower bit, there's no super good rest. So it could easily be that you do the bottom boulder problem of New World, which is very, very hard, and then have like a, you know, an okay rest, like a okay to bad rest, and then you do another 40 feet of really, really hard climbing, which, like, just the thought of that is like nauseating to me, because I mean, I only got through the bottom of New World once, and that was the time that I sent the route.
Oh, wow.
It's really hard, and I probably tried the route like at least 40 times.
Wow.
So like the thought of doing that, and then even if you had like a long section of like 14C, it's like insane to me. Like that would easily make it 15B easily.
Wow.
So, and then there's even harder climbing up higher too. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Nate Lyles, a good buddy of mine, he came out to take some pictures, and we did a little video on New World, which will be out hopefully in the next couple months with Epic TV.
Oh, awesome.
And my static line was down the original line, and so he was kind of like looking, because I had done a little bit of cleaning on it, so there was like some chalk and stuff. And he was like, while he was waiting for me to like climb, and in between takes or whatever, he was kind of like looking at it, and he like on a number of occasions was like, dude, this thing is the future, you know, like, oh my God, like it's totally crazy. So yeah, I mean, hopefully it is what I think it is, and it'd be an awesome challenge. That's for sure.
Sweet. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I love this opportunity to ask you about a specific thing that I'm interested in with projecting, because I was actually hoping to get a chance to talk to you about this idea with the Fins project, and we ran out of time. Yeah. But I'm really curious, when you, with something like this, where, you know, it was a project in its own right, a pretty solid project just to do New World, if you're thinking about going back for the extension, I'd love to hear, or the direct rather, I'd love to hear, like, what is your process for going through, like, how do you go about like repeating the route that you've already done? What is the process for kind of like the second round of projecting? Do you have like a checklist of links you want to make, or is this all just kind of like getting back on it, you know, relearning the moves, going by feel? With something like the Fins, where you have it super wired, I'd love to hear like how you approach a new season and a new round of tries.
I mean, it is definitely really hard. The difference on the Fins route, which makes it even harder, is that I've done both parts of the route, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think my excitement for the Event Horizon project is greater, just because there's new climbing to be discovered, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But no, it is really hard, and it is funny because Shayna, my girlfriend, was there with me a lot of the time throughout the 5 weeks, like belaying and of course at home, and like she saw me. I had a lot of stress because the season was obviously ending, and I got really lucky because it was like, you know, there were many days walking up there where I had the sense that like this was my last try, but then the weather would change and it would be like, okay, well maybe I'll get one more day, you know, and then I got one more day after that, there were a couple times. There was one time in particular when I like was trying to make a big link in the upper section, and my foot just slipped randomly, and I got like this huge flapper on my finger. And there was only like, from what I could tell from the forecast, there were only like 3 or 4 more good days of temperatures. And I was like totally heartbroken at that point, because I was like, oh, well, like my skin's not going to heal in the next 5 days. So, and I'm not going to be able to wear tape on my finger and get through the bottom because it's just too hard. So I was like, well, that's it, you know? So that's part of the reason why it was such a roller coaster, because it was like, you know, and it often happens like this, where right at the moment when you feel like you're ready to give up, then there's like a bit of pressure that's taken off, and maybe that allows you to have some kind of like forward momentum on the route. And you're like, oh my God, okay, well now I can't give up because I just one hung for the first time, or whatever it is, you know? And so, but the reason I was talking about all that, just to give you an idea of the stress that I was going through and my kind of dedication to try and finish the route. So Shayna was along for a lot of the ride. And then when I sent, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to clean my draws. And I like cleaned my draws down. Like, you know, I cleaned like the 10 draws, but then the first 6 draws, I was like, okay, cool, you can do it. And she was kind of like, well, wait, aren't you going to clean your draws? And I was like, well, no, I have to do this again. I have to come back. I have to do this part again. And she was like visibly upset, you know, just like, no.
Save yourself.
Like, yeah, like, please don't. Like.
Hey, friends. I hope you enjoyed that teaser of this week's follow-up. If you want full access to follow-ups, you can sign up for $5 a month on Patreon at patreon.com/thenuggetclimbing. Or you can go to thenuggetclimbing.com and click on the Support the Podcast button at the top. If you're on your smartphone, just tap those 2 little lines at the top of the page and you'll see the button in the drop-down menu. $5 per month gets you access to all follow-up calls, past and future. As long as you are a member, you'll have access to all of them. As you just heard in the teaser, I've been recording some follow-up conversations with past guests on the show to talk about what they've been up to lately and to go even further into the weeds on a specific topic than we typically would on the podcast. Follow-ups are 20 to 30 minutes in length, occasionally longer, and I will be releasing one every other week to make sure I always have plenty of podcast guests to follow up with. If you sign up for follow-up calls, what you are really doing is supporting the regular podcast and helping me continue to chase down interesting guests so I can pick their brains and bring you new nuggets every week. And by signing up on Patreon, you get some bonus content to look forward to as well. In addition to getting access to follow-ups, I will also let you know who's coming up on the show, and you can submit patron questions for upcoming guests, as you have undoubtedly heard in other episodes of the podcast. $5 per month. Think of it as buying me a beer at the local brewery after a long day of climbing. Whether or not you choose to sign up, thank you for listening, and feel free to share the podcast with your friends or leave a rating on your listening app. It truly helps, and I appreciate you for tuning in. I am very grateful for you guys. Much love to you all. We'll see you next time.
Move with the rhythm. Shake it up, stop when the clock hits 13. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.